The next two verses are about the Sravakas and the Bodhisattvas. The Sravakas are the conventional followers of the Buddha. Buddhists, basically. Buddhist monks. People that have been ordained as Buddhists. And they generally get a raw deal as being people that are caught up in the practices and the rituals without any real insight. And the Sravakas contrasted with the Bodhisattva, the one who's in touch with the spirit of the teaching, the one who's developed insight into the way things are, who are no longer so caught up in what was described in the last video as the false imagination. But in these two verses, the Shravakas is given a little bit more credibility, or at least a certain sort of Sravaka. And the Bodhisattva, well, certain ideas of the Bodhisattva are described. But let's get on with the verses. Verse 303. There are three kinds of my Sravakas: the transformed, the born of the vows, and the Sravakas disengaged from greed and anger, and born of the Dharma. Verse 304. There are three kinds also of the Bodhisattvas: those who have not yet reached Buddhahood, those who manifest themselves according to the thoughts of sentient beings, and those who are seen in the likeness of the Buddha. Now I'm going to cover verse 304 first. Because what we've got here isn't so much about the Bodhisattva as ideas about the Bodhisattva, and these are the conventional understandings. I'm not going to look for anything deeper in this verse. The Bodhisattva, as conventionally understood, is one who forgoes enlightenment for the sake of all other beings. It's quite a ridiculous idea. That once you're enlightened, you somehow disappear completely. Well, it's true in a sense, you do disappear completely, but the thing is, you still engage. It's your ego that's disappeared completely. You're no longer operating from the ego. But anyway, the conventional understanding is that nirvana is this blissful never land, which you disappear into, never again to return. And the Bodhisattva is this wonderful, compassionate being who's got the possibility of disappearing into this nirvanic never land, but doesn't do so because he wants to help other people get to never land before him. It's like the captain of a sinking ship, I suppose. You make sure everybody gets off it before you jump off it. It's a romantic idea, but if you think about it, it's very silly. The Buddha, after reaching nirvana, taught for 50 years. Another idea of the Bodhisattva is that they manifest themselves according to the thoughts of sentient beings. And there's a famous image, the Wheel of Life, which shows the realms of existence. There's the realm of the gods and of the titans, of the animals, the human realm, the realm of the hungry ghosts, and the hell realms. And there are Bodhisattvas teaching in these realms, helping all beings to liberation. Well, I don't think I'll say anything about that. If you like that idea and it works for you, then go with it. And there are also those Bodhisattvas who are seen in the likeness of the Buddha. And these are the wonderful golden images that you see. They're more common than those of the Buddha himself. These are the cosmic bodhisattvas that represent aspects of enlightenment. You've got bodhisattvas like Avalokiteshvara, bodhisattva of compassion. You've got the bodhisattvas Amitabha and Ikshobhya with their own Buddha lands, along with many others. The Buddha that you often see in restaurants and on wallpaper and whatever is actually Amitabha, the Bodhisattva Amitabha, the Buddha of the Western paradise. So these are the cosmic bodhisattvas. So these are the traditional understanding of the bodhisattvas, which may or may not be useful, may or may not be relevant to you. What we're interested here is in verse 303, the Shravakas. These are the ones that are real. And there's three kinds here: the transformed, the born of the vows, and those disengaged from greed and anger, who are born of the Dharma. So the transformed, these might be people that have become Buddhists after a moment of revelation. Maybe a mystical experience, maybe even a drug-related experience. Perhaps it's some trauma, some loss, which has made them think about things, made them open up to things in a different way, made them question things in a different way. And so they might come across Buddhism, and this will appeal to them, and they look for some understanding and consolidation of their initial vision in Buddhism. There are those that are born of the vows. There are those that just like the discipline of the Buddhist life. They like the order, structure. This is the appeal of many religious groups. It gives a context. It tells you how to behave. It tells you what's good for you. Neither of these two are of any interest to us as enlightenment practitioners. It's the third category, which is actually the enlightenment practitioner. The Sravaka disengaged from greed and anger and born of the Dharma. Greed and anger are what were described previously as the false imagination, the ego and its pain body. We disengage ourselves from that because we've been fortunate enough to have had some insight at some point in our journey. In this case, we are born of the Dharma. The truth of the Dharma becomes apparent, not just its rituals and rules, but where it's coming from, what the whole point of these rituals and rules is. Once you see the point of them, you don't need them, because there's a danger that they can become another ego-enhancing impediment. As long as we see the Dharma, which is the truth of things as they are, not as how we imagine them to be or how we believe them to be. So we disengage from these twin forces of greed and anger. These are what fuel the ego. And the Dharma here can be understood as pure awareness. This is the truth that underpins everything. And it's that truth that is this kind of Sravaka, as a spiritual practitioner, that we keep endeavouring to come back to.